everyone to another episode of the Urban Indigo Podcast. I'm your host, Diana Min.
And I am your co-host, Gabriel De La Puente.
Yay! We're back for another episode. I'm so
Woohoo!
excited.
Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back all of you guys too. It has been such an eventful week that we actually had to push our recording back more than I'm going to start that over.
Our usual day. Okay.
Yeah. It's been such an eventful week that we actually had to push our recording back than our usual day. So I'm excited to catch up with you.
Same. How's your week been? What's new? How's life?
Life has been really mellow, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, which, obviously in the last couple episodes you guys have heard, it's been pretty intense and crazy and chaotic. So it's been really nice.
Mellow can be very good sometimes. Yes.
Yeah, mellow is peaceful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think I really had to work to get to this place. And I think I was talking about this the other day on my TikTok, where I was saying that like true authentic happiness, which I think goes hand in hand with true authentic peace, is something that you actually have to invest in.
Right.
And I think a lot of people think that it's something that just comes.
That just happens.
It just happens sporadically, right? And it's like, no, you actually have to put in work and invest time and energy to develop that for yourself in your life, in your mind, in your heart, in your every area, And so I think I really, in the last week or so since we last met for our episode, I've been doing a lot of work of trying to get back to that place of like grounded peace and just chill, mellow vibes.
I love that. Honestly, like one of my favorite phrases is about like being an architect of your own life, right?
Yeah.
So literally you are very strategic about the places that you go, the people that you see, like the media that you consume, really everything that you come in touch with.
Yeah.
And that plays a huge difference on the quality of your life, and especially whenever you start like experiencing peace and joy and just like happiness, but you're just cruising, you're bliss, that point that is just good and satisfying.
Yeah, I think a lot of
you even sound like just like relaxed.
I know.
And zen.
I'm actually surprised how relaxed I am, considering we just dropped like a bunch of really expensive crystals like 30 minutes ago.
It just happened literally. But
I have like a shelf
really
of crystals like right here, and as we were like rearranging the room, I just like knocked my head into it and dropped like some really precious crystals to me, and I was like, this is fine. And that's how you know I'm in a good place. You know you're in a good, stable place when things that happen in your life that maybe you didn't plan for, maybe that you don't prefer, and you're just like, this is fine.
Yeah, you're okay with it.
I can manage this emotion.
Because you're grounded.
Right? But when you're not grounded, like any little thing goes wrong and it's just like...
just a trigger on every response.
Hell breaks loose, and then all of a sudden everything
Emotional regulation is beautiful, right? How do we get to that point?
Yeah, I mean, what have I been doing for my own emotional regulation? So I went and I had a Kambo ceremony last week. I think the day after we met, and so about a week ago now. And if you guys can see kind of like right here on my arm, these little marks here. And so for those of you who don't know what Kambo is a jungle frog. So it's another type of Amazonian medicine. Your girl loves jungle medicines, and basically the way that it's administered, it's done by like a Kambo shaman or a professional administrator, yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is
professional Kambo healer.
Yeah, don't just let anybody burn holes on your arms and put things in your body. Don't let just anybody do that, okay? You have to really make sure that they know what they're doing.
Credible and trusted person.
Right. And so basically they burn like the top layer of your skin, and then so the way they collect the medicine from the frog is nocturnal, and so they have to go out at night, and then they have to find the frogs in the tree, and then once they capture the frog secretes like a particular substance out of its skin. It's frog secretion. And then they scrape it from the frog's skin, and then it dries on like a piece of like wood, I guess, kind of like a popsicle stick. And then when when the administrator wants to then use that medicine, he just add like water to it to kind of get it to liquefy again, and that's kind of what they put on the open wounds after they burn the top layer of your skin. And so how Kambo works is basically it has like a bunch of peptides, and it goes through your lymphatic system, and it starts to really purge you of any toxins in your body. It cleans out your liver, it cleans out all of your gut, everything. And then it's also really good energy, like cleanser.
It's like a palate cleanser, but for your energy.
Yeah, it's just basically like a huge cleanse of like your mental, emotional, and physical state. But it is very intense because you are purging for about like 45 minutes straight.
I was just gonna ask you that.
Yeah. So it's, you have a large bucket, and this particular facilitator, and I've done Kambo tons of times, and this particular person is very, very good at holding the space. He actually only prefers to do private ceremonies. I actually did it with a mutual friend of ours, and I can understand now why he prefers the one-on-one experience, because he's very hands-on with you. He's very present with you. He's coaching you through it the entire time. He's supporting you through the process. Times where I didn't want him to support me as much, he was still there. You know what I mean?
Like I need some space right now.
Yeah, where I'm like, hi, like I'm crying right now, and he's like, he came over and he like rubbed my head. He's like, it's okay, and I'm like, I know it's okay. Don't touch me right now. Like I just want to. Can I have my moment?
I'm in this very vulnerable space right now, and I need personal space.
It's more just like, can I just cry right now?
Right.
I just like not have anybody interrupt me in that process. But it's he's very sweet, very kind, loving man, and but what's crazy, this is actually the most I've ever taken, because usually I'll do like 3 dots and I'm like, okay, I'm good. But he actually really pushed my limit, so I have like 6 gates on my arm, and like that process, you're not just throwing up for throwing up, right? You're releasing a lot of. I had realized that he told me I had candida in my gut too, which apparently candida gives you anxiety and depression, and basically eats all of the nutrients that you're taking into your body, right? Which lowers your vibration, right? And so I've been on this candida cleanse now since I found that out, and I feel like a world of difference in my body and in the clarity of my mind and my groundedness. So that was pretty amazing. But yeah, like I felt what like on an energetic and an emotional level, I felt just a lot of the sadness coming up of like all of the grief that I've been experiencing these last couple months, and all the loss and all of the pain of this human experience of what it is to have to lose people you love, and feeling.
And the losses that we were talking about on the last episode, right?
Yeah, the loss that we were speaking of the last episode, and the last episode of the loss of the relationship and things like that. Many relationships that have really come to a close in this last season of my life, and just really processing that. And so it was such an intense experience, and I think actually my throat's still kind of fucked up from like projectile vomiting for 45 minutes and then hysterically crying in between that. But it was so powerful, because I would say after that, I felt lighter. I felt like I was the purge I needed, and I felt more grounded. I feel more at peace. Like I think when I woke up the next day, when I was in my morning routine, like I finally felt like a deep reconnection to source, God, the universe, and really feeling deep gratitude, like an embodiment of gratitude. Not the type of gratitude which I realized like maybe what I was doing prior was like what we call kind of spiritually bypassing, right? Where it's like, I'm grateful, I swear I am. But then you're actually feeling so down that it's like
you haven't acknowledged your true feeling of what's inside of you. So it's just like
you're forcing
like toxic positivity in a way.
You're forcing the gratitude, because you're like, I should be grateful, but I don't feel it. It was like after my Kambo ceremony, I felt like I actually fully, truly embodied gratitude in such a deep way. I think I even like cried with God, thinking like, and I was finally able to kind of see like all the blessings in my life. Like I think sometimes like the darkness, the shade, the shadow is covering your eyes so much that it's like, although you want to see the sun and you want to receive the sunshine, like you can't get through.
Right.
And I think what's so good about these different types of, alternative medicines and healing modalities from the jungle is that it's able to literally pierce through and allow you to really cut to the core of yourself and really shed everything else. So what people actually use Kambo for in the jungle is like they used to give it to hunters.
Okay.
So men that would go out to hunt and because it really like heightens all of your senses.
Okay.
And you're just very present. Like you're able to, it gives you like energy to go and, kill a buffalo or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I feel like when I woke up the next couple of days after that, like I was looking outside and I was like, wow, like I live here, like I live and I look outside and there's these trees and there's these birds and there's these mountains and there's beautiful clouds. And like I was seeing like rainbows. I saw like 2 rainbows and like 2 separate occasions.
Okay.
And I was like, what? Like this is like...
Which that's not very usual for Southern California at all. We're not in Hawaii.
Yeah. And so life is just kind of like, that was kind of part of, and obviously that was a major form of shadow work, right? Like we can't push our way into high vibrations and high vibes and high frequencies and elevated emotions if we're not willing to feel into like our deep sadness and our shadows and our pain and all the gory shit until we get there. And I went there and then I got here.
And here you are. So
and
much
here we
lighter
are.
and happier.
Yeah,
Okay.
still healing on my arm, but they say the effects of Kambo last with you for like a few weeks, but it was good for me because I have so many spiritual practices and sometimes you just don't know which one is going to work for what. You know what I mean? Like you're like, yeah, well, I've been meditating for like 6 months and like, I'm not feeling better. You know what I mean? And like, okay, I'm going to see my therapist and like, that's been great, but I'm not like it wasn't like I needed that like huge, like inner push of like something external to come in and just like jolt me back to like my true self again. And so here we are.
I love that though. Well, and honestly, like you seem so much more at peace, like even your voice, how you're speaking, like your energy is very different.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll have to give that a try.
Oh my God. Yeah. I would definitely recommend it. I would also maybe want to go with you. Okay. Just to support you. Okay. And just be like, this is normal to throw up for 45 minutes straight. No, it's fine.
Don't worry about it. Just do it.
I mean, luckily the friend that I went with, like he's already done ayahuasca. So he was already familiar with like, okay, like
the
purging
like
process. Yeah. And so I think if you're, because there were times where like I was resisting the purge and he would tell me like, Diana, just stick your finger down your throat and like just get it going. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm not used to that. Like usually like with ayahuasca, like the purge just comes naturally. You're never going to have to force it. But this one time he was like, no, like I want you to like activate it because he said the reason why is like the Kambo is going through your lymphatic system. It's cleaning you out, and if you don't throw it up, then you're allowing the toxins to just kind of cycle through your body and like stay inside your body.
Oh, so you have to literally get it out of your body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like fully. Yeah. It was intense. I was in shock. I was in shock at how intense it was actually, and I was like, wow.
So who was encouraging you to do that? Was it your friend or the coach, the person that was administering this?
My intuition.
Oh, your intuition? Okay.
Yeah, I had been in contact with this guy actually for like a month or two, and I kept backing out. Like I kept telling him I was gonna come and then I would cancel. Okay. Or like women, you shouldn't go when you're on your moon cycle. And so one month I was like, just happened to be on my moon cycle. That was like, no, yeah, like it was just, it was alignment. Like I wasn't ready until finally like one day I was like, I think I'm ready to go. And that's like with all plant medicine, you should really feel into your body. Like, am I ready to go or am I doing it for somebody else? Right. And so anytime I felt like I wasn't in alignment, I just let him know. I'm like, hey, like it just doesn't feel in alignment. Like I'll reach out to you when it does. And then I did. And then I went and it was perfect. So.
It's just what you needed at the right time.
Yeah.
Right place, right time,
Always.
right medicine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I love it.
Yeah. They say once a medicine person, always a medicine person, right? And I think a lot of times because you think of like there's a lot of ex-drug addicts in like the sacred plant medicine space, and one shaman that I met, he was like a Brazilian shaman, and he actually used to be like he used to do meth,
Okay.
you know, and he used to be a little crackhead. And he said, but obviously he's not anymore. But what he said to me really resonated. He goes, once he's like, medicine people are always medicine people. But in the beginning, you're looking for medicine and you find like the wrong medicine until you find like the right medicine. Right.
Okay.
And so like, obviously I used to be a drug addict too. And so, you know, healing from that and now realizing that like I was actually just seeking the right medicine, and the right medicine for me is obviously anything organic from the earth.
From
and,
the earth.
yeah, from from the Amazon and from animals and things like that. I like the frog. The frog is an earth, technically, yeah.
No, but I mean, it's natural. It just comes from the earth. It's not like made on a lab or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. I know. I met a guy this weekend and he asked me, he's like, oh, have you ever smoked DMT? And I'm like, no, like that's never called to me, because that DMT again is, they're trying to model it after the DMT in the plant, and it's made somewhere in a lab by somebody, and like I just don't. I don't
trust.
Just
not your vibe.
No,
yeah.
I don't trust that. It's weird. No offense to anybody that smokes DMT. I know it's amazing. I know I've heard amazing stories, but for me, like, I have like a really big thing with just because I used to be a drug addict, right? So for me, I'm like, no.
Thank you, but no thank you.
Thanks, but no
Next.
thanks. Yeah. So.
Well, speaking about that, like, it's been really interesting though, because I haven't really been drinking for the last couple of weeks or so.
Okay.
And I've noticed like a really big difference on my like happiness level and health state, you know? So anytime that you're putting anything that doesn't really belong to your body, right? Like in your body, like the effect that it has is pretty incredible. Even we're like, oh, it's just a drink or two, it's not gonna like make a difference, but it really does.
Oh yeah.
And it compounds over time, and like how your brain even like responds to all of it. It's just fascinating. I've been reading a lot about that.
Good. Yes. I mean, I've been sober now 7 years and I feel amazing. I feel so good in my body. I just went to Europe and all my girls that were on that trip drank and they all got the flu and I didn't. And I'm literally like sleeping in the same bed with them, like hanging out with them, and I didn't get sick. And it goes to show that like alcohol really takes a toll on your immune system, on your overall
body,
health,
on your brain, like all the things that I've been reading about what it does to your brain. Even it reduces your ability to have empathy towards other people.
Oh my God, really?
So, yeah, like things that I have never really been exposed to. Like it's not like I drank a lot, but like I do like good champagne occasionally.
Yeah.
And like now I'm
As
like,
you should.
Is that worth it?
Yeah.
So it's really incredible like what it does to your body, and also like it's just been really interesting to see what happens whenever you're not doing that, right? Like there is like certain communities for certain people that you connect because you go out and you get drinks, or you go like hang out, and that's like a social circle. So whenever you remove that, is that really like your community or your friends or the people that you truly get along with if you don't have that in common, right? The impairment.
Yeah.
So it's been really interesting.
Yeah. I realized that when I first got sober actually too, was that I realized that the only reason me and my old crew used to hang out was because we used to get fucked up together.
You had alcohol in common.
Yeah. And that was, we share similar vices, and we used to be like, oh, we're like a family and this and that. But it's like, yeah, we were a family because we all like to drink and do cocaine till 12 in the afternoon. But it's like, once I stopped doing that, it's like, do I hear from any of these people anymore? No. It's like,
I know you have it. Well, because that's the thing that's truly bonding you, right? Like that's the activity that you have in common. But once you remove that, it's just not the same or not as fun. Yeah. It was interesting because I was at a bar with some friends because they wanted to see the Padres game live, and it was so much fun. The game was incredible. I don't even watch sports and I was so into it. But I wasn't drinking and everybody else was, and I was like, wow, like I just wonder what my experience would have been if I've had a couple of drinks on me, or even just one or two, because I'm such a lightweight, I only really drink seltzers. But I was sober, so I was able to see the experience for what it was, and it was like, this is not that much fun. Even though I did love being there with them, and like sharing that, and like the laughter and the stories and all of it.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, like we can go ahead and just do other things in a different environment and have as much fun.
Yeah. So what have you been doing instead now that you're not really drinking right now?
Honestly, just a ton of reading. There's a reason why you call me a self-developer junkie, because a ton of reading, like just listening to podcasts, listening to books. I just feel like I'm just focusing on truly stretching my mind and being very mindful too of my environment. I feel like the environment that we put ourselves in has such a huge influence in how we think, how we react, how we like spend our money, how we, go on vacation. Like it's related to everything. So I've just been, maybe because I'm meditating more now, I'm just noticing my behaviors, noticing my patterns, and just really checking in. I'm like with myself, right? Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to spend time with this person? Like, is this really worth my time, my energy? Is this the kind of investment that I want to be putting in? So I've just been honestly sitting at home a lot, like reorganize my whole closet, like throwing away, like removing all energy, really.
Love that.
Just like stagnant energy. Like I sold a lot of things. I donated a lot of stuff. Just like removing things that are not truly bringing joy into my life. Making sure that everything is like decluttered, that everything is just pretty and satisfying. That's been my vibe. And just like working on my mental health, you know?
That's like it's a different kind of purge.
Right? It is.
Right. Like I went to throw up last week, and you've been cleaning out your closet.
My closet, my car, my cabinets, like everything in my home,
Clearing space.
Clearing space. Even my cell phone too. Like I went back and I had so many pictures of trips and experiences that I've had with people that are no longer in my life either. And then I kept a couple just for memories, but just like clearing all of that out just to create room and space for something new to come. And that's kind of what I've been realizing too. And I feel like after COVID, I changed a lot. Like before, I still love nice things, but I feel like I had more of an attachment or an affinity to like brands and designer things, and the greatest and latest, which I still love now, but it's just not who I am. So when I saw like, tons and tons of like designer shoes that at some point, like I used to worship, because they were amazing and so expensive, I was like, this is just not who I am anymore, So if this is not me, like I want it out of my house, so that way somebody else can go enjoy them and wear them, or, like imagine if you go to like whatever store and you find them for like $20, shoes that were like 800, that's a deal, it makes somebody else's day. But just clearing space, and also like my mind too, like just catching my thoughts, like what am I thinking, what am I feeling? If I hang out with people, like how do I feel after that interaction? Is this an interaction that is leaving me empowered, energized, full of like love and vitality? Or if it's an interaction that I was like, oh my gosh, like I gotta go breathe because it depleted me, right? And just like, okay, like that was time well spent, or if it was, I'm like, okay, noted, maybe we're going to regulate that a little more, like not invested there as much. So just all about awareness.
I love it. We're going to regulate our time a little more because that was a depletion.
True, like absolutely, right? Like and our energy is like our currency. Like your time and your energy is truly like the most valuable currency.
Because you can't make more. You can always make more money, but you cannot get more time. And it is the most valuable currency. I love the evolution, honestly. Like I'm loving the how mindful you are of your time and your energy, and how aware you are of yourself. And really, like that's the process of removing yourself from those environments that maybe you were drinking more, or I wouldn't say it's wasted time, because if you were enjoying people that you love, then that was time that you spent. But also just realizing the value of your time more, and knowing that you can invest it in a different way to actually get a higher return on that time and energy.
Absolutely. I will honestly and even about the book Attached, that was like our first like episode together, right? I like listened to that book again twice now.
Wow.
So like, and I want to listen to it 2 more times because I want to be able to debate, I want to be able to coach, I want to be able to do, whatever it takes based upon that theory. And that's where I want to be spending my time, and actually on Saturday night, 2 of my friends came over and we were just drinking tea, and we were talking until about midnight or so, past midnight. And I was so happy, like everybody was talking about what they were going through in life, just there were like moments that were like pretty like heavy, and we were like able to love on each other and support each other.
Aww.
And there were moments that were just like laughter, you know, just authenticity and laughter and beauty. And I'm like, this is my vibe. Like, this is the kind of community. Like, this is when people come into my home, that's the experience that I want them to have. Just healing, love, just peace, mindfulness.
Yeah.
And then one of my friends texted me, and she was like, oh my gosh, every time I go to your house, I feel so much happier after. And I feel like that's because I'm very intentional about it, you know, like creating the space for it.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, every time I'm with you, I always feel high vibes, and I always feel elevated. And obviously I wouldn't invite you on my podcast if you made me feel like shit, you know? So
we're like, no, but it is. No, yeah, likewise.
Yeah. And I think that's why we're such a match, is because, and we were just talking about how like people can be medicine to your soul, right?
100%.
And I think what you've been intentional about is raising your own vibration, right? Taking care of yourself, making sure you're in a good place, and then your overflow has been medicine for other people, right? And that's where you're in a place to give, because you've been giving so much to yourself, investing into yourself, your mind, your body, your spirit, and now you have this overflow that's like this medicine. And people that maybe needed a little bit of a boost, or needed some support, or needed some love, they came, plugged into you, got a little bit, and they're like, oh, I feel so much better. But you don't feel depleted because you've been giving to yourself.
100%. Like, I've been spending so much time on me, like processing my emotions, you know, processing life, just making sure that I'm learning from the past, and using the past instead of, you know, what did they say? Like, if you live in the past, you're depressed. Like, no, just like acknowledging like things that happen. And like, okay, how can we look at this from a different perspective? And what did we learn for that? How can we bring that into our present, live in the present, and just play with it and apply it? And have it create a different result. And it's funny because it has been like showing up in so many different aspects of my life. So it's encouraging me to spend like more time, almost like withdraw a little bit, just to like feed myself, to be able to like share that with others. And the messages that I've been receiving are like so sweet, you know, like on Instagram, and like even a couple on TikTok too. They were like, oh, like about daily habits. I'm a big believer about daily habits and having a routine. Like my routine is very specific. I wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm at the gym at 5:30, you know. Before I go there, I do like my gratitude. I do my tapping. I do my meditation, you know. I finish the gym, I go on my walk and get to my house, and then I start my day. But my day started, it didn't start like, I didn't like just wake up and roll into a Zoom call or work. Like, no, my day started like taking care of myself.
Filling your own cup. And now you're like, ooh,
and
I'm
now
overflowing.
I'm able, my cup is full. I'm able to give people more. So,
oh, look at you.
I know, a little, but it's like habits too, right?
I love
consistency.
The consistency is where that discipline is, and that's where the like test of true character is. And I definitely can see the shift in you, and I love it, because I think that's really where I was kind of missing in like my energy of like that overflow. And I think for a long time, because I was still processing so much of like the grieving process and dealing with so much like emotional stuff, that like I wasn't overflowing. And so as I was trying to give, and obviously being a coach and running your own business, like it's all giving, right? It's all sharing, it's all connection, it's all energy. And I feel the difference now that I feel in a place where I've been filling up my cup and really feeling into my own overflow, maybe for the first time in a long time. And what the difference is when you're giving from a depleted place, you're almost like a little bit bitter. Right? It's almost like a bitterness, because it's like you're still trying to like get your ground, and you're still trying to fill your cup, and you're maybe you're struggling with that, and then somebody comes in and asks for a little bit, and you're like, ugh, what do you want now? Well, you know what I mean? It's almost like a little bit of a resentment when people are looking for something. But now energetic, and it's very underlying, right? It's very subconscious. Like, and now it's like, now I'm like, how can I give more? Like, how can I do more? Like, I feel like in a joy and an energy of like wanting to give more because it feels good, because it's actually filling me up. And that's why I feel like I've been so much more consistent with my content, sharing more, doing lives, doing this podcast. Like, I am finally in a place where I'm like, yes, like giving feels good and sharing feels good and expanding my energy feels good. And I want to do more of that. And I want people to benefit off of that. And I want to see the fruits of that, you know?
Right. Well, because like giving went from being duty, I have to, or like I'm supposed to, or like this, to like being like a joy, to being
Yeah.
like an overflow of
Yeah.
like the amazing things that are happening within yourself, within
Right.
your heart, within your body and your
Right.
spirit, you know?
Which,
And that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
That makes a whole difference in the world, right?
Yeah.
And people may not be able to like tangibly, like it's not palpable, but you can feel it.
which is why it's important to invest in developing that
Yes.
authentic, grounded, stable love and joy within yourself, right? Because again, you invested into waking up at 5 a.m., doing your morning practice, having discipline, and being consistent. Like, you're investing in expanding your mind, your heart, your spirit through all the things that you're absorbing, all the knowledge, all the podcasts, things like that. You invest in it so that you can be in your authentic place of love and joy, in your peace and groundedness, in your stability, and then have overflow, and then feel good about that overflow. Like,
Right.
that was an investment you made, right?
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
And so it's like, when people think about, well, I'm doing all these things, why am I still not happy, right? Like, I have everything. So many clients come to me. I have the job I want. I have the house I want. I have the car I want. I have all the money that I want. I take the trips I want. You know, I can date anybody I want. Why am I still so unhappy?
Right.
And I'm like, well, a lot of times all the focus is on the external, the tangible, and the investment into the internal, the intangible feels like a waste until you really see the fruits of that and really see the benefit of that. Do you understand the value of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, like 100%, because like I mean, even for me, like I notice that when I skip the gym, or when I skip my meditation, or when I'm not like reading and learning and expanding my mind and my knowledge, I just like, it's like, like I just like default to whatever old ways or old patterns,
Yeah.
you know, it happens. That's why it's a non-negotiable, right?
Yes.
Like if you want to grow, if you want to be like at 100% on your max and just giving out, like I have to invest in myself. Otherwise I don't have anything to give to anyone.
Right.
Shitty attitude.
Yeah.
A little grumpiness, you know, but not like the best version of myself. That's for sure, you know. And that's why I have compassion for people sometimes when I see them. I was like, oh, like I don't take it personal. Like they're having a terrible day. Like, honey, that's all up to you. Go take care of yourself. Right.
Go listen to our episode of how not to take things personally for
Yes.
that one.
Yeah, you're not responding to me. You're responding to
Yeah.
your own mind and stimulus. No, but that's key. And also, like, I want to emphasize too, like the people in your life. Like, if you're having conversations that are good, that are uplifting, that are like challenging you to
Yes.
grow, to be better, to expand, to be a new person, right? Or if you're having conversations that instead of, you're talking about your dreams, where people are dragging you down, or people are like, oh, like, but that's really hard, or oh, that are disempowering in general.
I hate
That makes a big difference on how you show up, on even your ability to learn. If somebody's telling you like, yes, you can do it, versus like, oh, there is like 1,000 other people that are doing that and are better. Like, boom, we just
Call
killed
it-
your dream, right?
All right, Debbie Downer. Like, who
Right
invited
then
you to
and
this
there.
party?
And filtering those out to make sure that we have the people that really see us for who we are, but that also see our potential.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
Ooh, yeah, it is. It 100% is. I feel like those people, they kind of carry like that, whether it's like pessimism or just that doubt. And the minute that you like, they can inject that kind of negative, low vibe around you or in and around your dreams. And that is like poison.
And that's also like says a lot about them. That's keeping them safe, right? Because if you're
keeping them
growing,
small, yeah.
if you're expanding, like it kind of pushes them and forces them to be like, okay, what am I doing with my life? But if we all stay the same and everybody's like mediocrely okay,
Ugh.
like we all look good, like we have like good
Yeah.
stuff and we like go to the right places or whatever. But
Yeah.
everyone is like
we'll
the
look good on
same.
Instagram.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I love that quote that says, I'm looking to create a life that feels good on the inside, not just looks good on the outside.
Right.
And I think that's really like what we're talking about here, because so much focus is promoted on make sure it looks good on the outside, make sure you show people only the good stuff. And, you know, real authentic joy and happiness comes from dealing with the bad stuff, feeling into the lower emotions, right? And then finding your natural organic way to being into your highest self, feeling what feels good for you. And I think so many, you know, people are suffering with depression or anxiety, and because they're not really going within to decide what feels right for them, right? Because it's promoted. You should drink, you should go out, you should do this, you should buy this, you should look like this, you should get your body done to look like that, like all that stuff. And it's like, well, did you tap in with yourself and like, is that right for me, right? And
so what do you really want to begin with? Is that the life that you want?
Right.
You know, like
right.
I think I got, especially when I was living in Orange County, I was so caught up on that, you know, like the right car, the right clothes, the right everything,
the designer shoes.
Oh
yeah, that's where that came from.
You know, everything. Everything.
And this is like, I love designer stuff, but when I buy it, it's because I really authentically want it.
And you love it.
Because I actually authentically
and you love
it. Right. Yeah. It's not because I'm like, oh, I can't wait to like flex on somebody with this. It's like, no, like this is my shit. Like I love it. You know?
No, I concur. There is like some pieces that I have that I see them, I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody had the creativity, ingenuity to create this, right?
Yeah,
that's
like this
art.
Piece of art.
Yeah. You can wear it.
Yeah.
But there is a difference between that and having to wear it just to like show your status or show who you are or appear to be somebody that you're not, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where like the balance comes in.
And for me, the way that I perceive wealth and money and abundance, I no longer perceive it as like a status symbol or like, oh, like look how good or worthy he is because he has money or she has money. Like I actually look at it as an expression of like, oh, look at how much inner light that person is able to shine out and therefore then attract all of this abundance into their lives.
Right.
That's how like I actually kind of look at it more. I mean, I don't think a lot of society might look at it like that, but for me, like I'm never hating on somebody who's made a lot of money, but more so I'm looking at like, and on a frequency level, they're holding that higher vibration of wealth and abundance. And that for me, I think is more admirable than whatever it is they're actually doing to make money.
I love that. For me, how I see it, I just see like visionary people. You know, this is somebody that had a dream, especially when they create something that hasn't been created before.
Yeah.
And that they did all the necessary steps and they kept trying and that persisted, right? The consistency once again to reach the dream, to create that company, to create that dream life, you know? It's somebody that has good habits, it's somebody that's like consistent and that is like going for it.
Yeah, I actually was talking to my therapist about this and I had wrote this thing down, and sometimes I don't ever want to come off judgmental, but I was saying like, you know, a poor man is someone who lacks creativity, right? Like a poor man is someone who lacks drive and resilience and the ability and discipline, because at the end of the day, there's so many ways to express yourself on this earth in order to create abundance for your life. And if there's a way that you feel like that you're not accessing that, well, you're not getting creative enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, and then I was thinking too, there's just so many aspects of like who do you want to, like you're saying, like surround yourself with, right? Because the more that you surround yourself with people that are also creative, that also think outside the box, that also think, hey, that's really possible. Hey, I can help you figure out a way to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? How can I support you in that? It's like,
They
okay.
fuel your passion and your dreams.
Right.
So that's like, we have to be surrounded by people that are always giving you that fuel that you need instead of taking that away from you.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking about, maybe past partners or like old friends and things like that like when I would talk about like my visionary ideas, right? Like I created a business out of absolutely nothing, and it's so niche what I do, it's even hard to explain in words what I do, but I'm like basically like a spiritual, energetic quantum healer, and a spiritual life coach.
People are like, what does that mean?
Right. Like I can put myself in a box of a spiritual life coach, but like what I do is like beyond like this realm, right? And I've made...
Because you even do it for business too, like for coaches and other people. So there is a lot of different aspects of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I support coaches in building their businesses online because I approach business from a very quantum energetic standpoint. And I'm not just going to give you business strategy. I'm going to tell you how to really embody, authentically step into a frequency of creating your dream business, right? An expression of your soul, how that manifests in the physical. It's like, it's very different work, but it's like, the risk I took in doing that, it was highly unlikely that I was going to be successful, right? Like sometimes I even explain my business to people that run like multi-million-dollar businesses, and they're like, there's a need for that? They'll like ask me,
yes.
Yeah, they'll be like, people want that. I'm like, yeah, like I run a multi-six-figure business doing that. So yes, it is. But then it's like when I was with like my ex or somebody, and they were just kind of like I could feel the contraction in their energy, and I could feel like the limited perspective. I can feel the limiting beliefs, and like it just being around me, like kind of felt like an energy drain.
Yeah, because it is.
Right.
It's like taking energy from you.
Like all of a sudden I started to doubt myself. I'm like, can I do it? Like, wait, is that possible?
And it's a simple way to look at it, right? Like from very like analytical or like, I don't know, visual, I guess. It will be like, is this giving you fuel? Like literally you can think about fueling your car or charging your electric car, or is this depleting or taking it away from you?
Right.
And I love the fact that you said your boyfriend, because sometimes...
My ex-boyfriend.
Your ex-boyfriend. Because I've had exes like that too, right? Like we allow people into our lives that are constantly depleting. So in the world of dating, in the world of going out there right again, looking for that right person, like for me, one of the criteria is like that person has to give me fuel. It has to bring like stability. It has to bring like joy. It has to bring like... They will want to make me dream bigger, right? And like that's around the kind of energy that I want to be around. Like that's the kind of just putting fuel, like putting more gas into that car or charging that electric car, He came and put on extra solar panels on that Tesla. So yes, that's the kind of vibe that I'm looking for. And I feel like for us, that's something that is like telling that we can kind of sense even at the very beginning of dating, right? Whenever you're with somebody, if you like share an idea or a story, and if they tell you, oh yes, or they're like curious, or they try to inquire more, they try to like get to know you more, and the kind of comments that they make about it early on, you can identify that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, not only just people you date, but like you said, like your friends, right? Like I talk to very specific people about big dreams and visions. Yes. Because I realize there's certain people because you have friends for different things, right? But I've realized like I'm in a creation like place in my life right now. Like I'm like revamping my brand. I'm expanding at an exponential rate. I'm getting more into being a motivational speaker. I'm working on my book, like all these things. I'm redoing my website. Like I'm literally revamping myself inside out, and my business is an expression of me. And I realized that like I can't talk to everybody about that. And like you said, because I'm dreaming bigger, I'm expanding, it is intimidating to people that are still kind of stuck in the same place. It's really hard to feel supported when maybe you have people that don't run their own businesses, and maybe they're more like employees, so they feel like energetically
which
stuck
is a very
there.
Different mindset,
which
right?
is totally fine.
Wrong.
There's
it's
no
just
shame
different.
in that. But when they're they're subconsciously comparing themselves to me and my journey, and then they feel a certain level of stuckness in where they're at, and then I can feel, because I'm a fucking psychic, that that like there's a level of envy there, and there's a little bit of like a haterade, like also, that's like seeping through the little
and
cracks.
Even the level of advice that you receive, right? If somebody's not on that mind frame, on that mindset, like whatever they're going to share with you is probably not going to be very applicable, or it's not going to really fuel you towards your goals.
Yeah.
Like that's why, like, especially like I see people talking a lot to their friends about like their life or finances or relationships. But one of the things that I've been very conscious about is like, be very careful who you go and share your life with, and also who you're receiving advice from.
Yes.
Right? Because like the advice that you're receiving is going to be given through the lens of that person, right? That person, we're all mirrors, so that person is kind of going to give you the advice at the time that you're asking. So for example, if you need like financial advice, go to a financial advisor.
Go to somebody who has way more money than you.
Right. Like when I want to talk about like business, I go to my friends that are millionaires, that are just like killing it, that are just like on point, and I'm like, okay, how would I do this? How can I do this? How can I grow? Do that. If I need relationship advice, I go to my therapist friends or like my healer friends, the people that are like really like in the work. And so be very, very careful who you get advice from. I see people talk, like even guys in the locker room just talking, like some guy I heard the other day was giving like relationship advice to this other guy, which was terrible. I wanted to be like, that wasn't any of my business, right? But I wanted to be like, dude, do not listen to that. Like listen to that if you want to be in trouble, if you want your life to freaking suck. If you don't care about that girl, listen to that bullshit. Otherwise, no, go hire a coach. If you want
to be single, listen to this
That's
guy.
what coaches are for, right? That's what like people that are into like the healing work are for. To give you proper and good advice in those situations.
Yeah.
Don't be listening to your bro at the gym, or like to the girl at the hair salon, or like whatever it is that you're like, whoever you're pouring out your heart to. Like, no.
Yeah. I love how my therapist she's been with me for like 3-4 years, and so I don't ever feel like I really need to go to too many other people about stuff, because like she's just like my go-to girl for a lot of it.
Right.
And so that actually has created this, I don't have a need to go to friends for advice, because I'm getting it from a professional, like on a weekly basis, And so like I think that really is like, if you don't have someone you talk to that is a professional, like find one. I would like, cause I know there's like some, I don't, not in my world, but I know in some realms, like there's a stigma about like having a therapist or seeing a counselor or somebody, like you're crazy or something. But like the most like stable, grounded, like well balanced, emotionally intelligent people have therapists. And I love that quote that's like, they go to therapy to deal with the people in their lives that don't go to therapy.
Right. One. Also, when you think about it, really successful people, they have multiple coaches. They don't have one. They have a ton of coaches. They have a lot of therapists.
Masterminds.
They literally have masterminds. They create an environment and a community that will allow them to thrive. So presidents, how many coaches do a president have?
Yeah.
They
Advisors.
have advisors. They have like councils. They literally have like so much support to help them make the right decisions.
Should I start a mastermind, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, I have to be very, obviously I'd be very selective about like who's coming in there.
Right.
Right. Okay.
I will. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. I guess I could think about, let me marinate on that. I was actually thinking today too, I wanted to start something like a monthly kind of like subscription for people that they could pay monthly, and then we can hop on a call, and then they would kind of have like a Slack channel where we can kind of, ruminate on different topics and have people ask questions and get direct support from me, things like that. So I was thinking about that as well. If you guys would like something like that, leave me a comment either on my Instagram or send me a DM and let me know that you would be interested in either like a monthly subscription and or a mastermind. The mastermind would be more about elevation, where it's like, okay, you already have a business, you want to expand it, you want more,
how do you take it to the next
you want
level?
expert advice, and then we would kind of put more expert people in that mastermind. And then the monthly subscription would be something more of just like kind of like self-development and a more emotional support. And maybe it would be like a different tier thing, right? Like you come in on the monthly subscription, and then all of a sudden you turned your side hustle into a business, and now you can join the mastermind, like, wow.
You never know. Possibilities are endless.
Yes, the growth. Love that. I would say, and I know for women, you got to get rid of your insecure friends. And I wouldn't say get rid of them, limit time with them. Because an insecure person can never be happy for you. They will never root for you. They will never encourage your dreams. When something good happens for you, they're going to talk shit about it. They're going to throw dirt on it. They're going to make it. They just can't. They physically cannot be happy for someone else. And it's nothing personal, right? And it's more so a little sad for them. But if you have big dreams and you want to do something and you want to create something extraordinary in your life, you cannot surround yourself with people that are insecure, because they will project that onto you and it will infect you.
Insecure or jealous too, because I see this all the time. Like sometimes people, your success triggers them, right?
Yeah.
Like your advancement, your growth, like triggers them.
Yeah.
So when I have noticed that over the years, in several people in my life, and just like I just started like cutting the interactions with them a little shorter.
Regulating it.
I
love that word. We're going to regulate our relationship moving forward.
Literally, because it's just, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
So
I actually, we had a little thing last week.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So how can we name this,
let's
right?
I want to talk about it because I love you, Gabriel, and I love our friendship, and I love that you were able to meet me. Okay, I have to get into this because
let's do it. No, this is like on the court, on the spot, like true.
This is
real
life.
This
is real life. What is that MTV show? It was like real life, true story or something. Anyway,
I don't watch TV. I don't know.
But I'm talking in the 90s, babe.
90s.
In the 90s.
I was living in Venezuela in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Honey.
Okay.
No hablo inglés in the 90s. Literally.
So I basically have lived my life in relationships with people that have always told me that I'm too much. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm going to get like emotional about it. And it's a wound. It's truly a wound, because it's like anytime I have emotions or anytime I feel something sensitively, and if I was to bring that up, it's like, oh, you're being too much. Like, here you go again. You're overreacting. A lot of gaslighting. A lot of like,
you're being dramatic.
You're so sensitive. Things like that. And that has actually crippled before I healed myself, but before I really started doing the work, it crippled my ability to really be in my authentic self, because I felt like I had to really shrink myself, my emotions, my experience, and really self-abandon myself in order to be loved and accepted and belong somewhere. And that was such a deep wound to untangle as I got on my healing journey. And now that I'm really in this place of like loving myself, belonging to myself, having confidence in my value and who I am, I'm really learning that the people that matter and the people that value and love you won't ever make you feel like you're too much, because at the end of the day, I'm sensitive, but my sensitivity is also the reason why I'm empathic, I'm intuitive, the reason I can hold space for so many clients, the reason that I can tap into my client's energy field and know what they're thinking, feeling, and expand on their awareness, right? Why I'm good at what I do is because of my sensitivity.
It's a gift.
It is a gift. And so the fact that it was always made to feel like a disability, right? Yeah. Like a handicap, like a burden. And so the other day, or last weekend.
Last week,
I had texted Gabriel, and he was busy living his best life, and he forgot to get back to me. And so,
and the funny thing is, like, I thought I did. I like literally thought about the response, but I just didn't send it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that triggered me because I felt ignored, and I felt like, why, is he just kind of discarding
Read my
me?
text and didn't text me back for 2 days.
And I would say also in my defense, his red receipts were on. So it's like
I get it. I would have felt the same way. I was like,
said
what?
you read it, and then I never heard from you. So I was like, that's kind of annoying.
2 days.
And then on Monday, he like reaches out and he's just like, hey, good morning. And just try to like carry on about business with me, like as if I didn't ask him like multiple questions on Saturday afternoon. And I was just like, okay. Like, and I said like something kind of passive aggressive. I'm like, what am I, like your weekend? Your weekday buddy?
Your weekday friend.
I was like, am I only your weekday friend? Like, because once the weekend came, like you ghosted me, bro, And
no, she did.
And then we kind of basically had a little bit of a text exchange where I just kind of said, like, well, I kind of felt like I was ignored, and I just don't see myself doing that to somebody that I care about.
Right.
And you were like, hey, like, let's talk about this later.
The minute that I read it, I was like, once again, going back to the attachment styles, right? Like, if if you really care about people, you care to know about how they think and how they feel. So when I read it, I was like, oh, this is not a regular interaction. So I was like, I don't want to keep texting. I was like, let's talk about this, because there's definitely an opportunity for us to get closer, an opportunity for us to understand each other better, right?
Yeah.
For an opportunity for us to actually like create that bond even stronger here.
Yeah.
So it was just a great opportunity, and I was crazy busy at work, so it wasn't even like about you, right?
Yeah.
And do we go into like how we...
No, we just hopped on the phone the next morning, right?
But like also to give you guys a little bit of perspective of how like to you, I could understand 100%, because like, if I send you a text and you read it and you text me for 2 days, I was like, where's this bitch? How busy are you, Diana? I'm your friend.
Right.
But I was circumstantially, I couldn't respond. And then when I texted her back on Monday morning, literally at 6 a.m. in the morning on Monday, I was intending to send a voice memo. But once again, like life happened and I got distracted and my day just started, right?
Right.
And then I never sent the voice memo until I heard your response back. So even though on my side there were a lot of intentions to communicate, which didn't happen, right? So in my side, like it was an attempt, you didn't know any of that.
Right.
You don't know. And that's usually, I feel like, what happens in real life, And then we come up with conclusions. We jump to conclusions about people, because I've done that all the time. Mm-hmm. But you don't really know what's truly happening, like the whole picture.
Yeah.
But coming back to kind of what you were saying, like we just got on the phone.
Well, actually, I will say that before we got on the phone, you acknowledged how I felt.
Yes.
And you apologized for how you may have made me feel. And that to me was major, because I think a lot of times people, instead of acknowledging, I'm sorry if I made you feel this way through this action, which is exactly how you said it, right? It's almost like, why are you feeling that way? I didn't mean to do that. And it becomes like a defensiveness. Right. Instead of being like, hey, like I'm coming to you and my emotions are hurt and I'm not blaming you. And maybe I was even blaming you, but you didn't take it as a blame, and you saw me. And that is the biggest thing for me. Like for someone to see me. Right. Just to see me and what I'm experiencing. And that's a huge wound of mine. And for you to not even, like, you didn't even skip a beat. You were just like, hey, I see you and what you're experiencing. I acknowledge you. I apologize if that I affected you in this way, and let's talk tomorrow. That was like, for me, big, because I was like, oh, so it is possible for people to do this for me. So all the people that have gaslit me for my entire life to tell me that I'm too much and what I'm asking for is too much, and to be acknowledged or to be seen as a burden, is fucking bullshit. Because here comes this person that's known me for what? Less than 6 months. Yeah. And the ability to meet that need without me having to coach you through it, without me having to convince you of my worth, without me having to try to do a song and dance to how I'm a good friend and I don't deserve this and yada. Like, you were just like, you met me. And I was like, complete in
and I
that for
think
me.
no, and I think that once again, like acknowledgement that, and I think that on the text I was like, I really appreciate you and I care about you and like your friendship. You know, I was like, I'm sorry if I fucked up, and I probably will fuck up again, right? But like making sure that that communication and vulnerability is there from both parts, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what makes relationships stronger. That's what make like friendships stronger. It's just like honest, raw communication, but making sure that what you're saying is also like you meet the other person's needs, but you edify them and you build them up, and you also share with them how important they are to you. Because I feel like that's what made the big difference. And then I just couldn't wait to talk to her on the phone, and then we hopped on the phone and we talked,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we figured it out.
Yeah, yeah. And I think for me, like, I'm coming out of this place where I have just been betrayed by like a huge part of my life, right?
Right.
Like, not only just the community, but then the partner and all the people that are in between that are, unable to support me, right? And to feel like, I kind of hopped on the phone with you and you were just like you saw me, and it's not like this is my normal level of sensitivity, but this is where I'm at right now because of all the other things going on. I am kind of a little bit wary of people right now. I am kind of looking at people like the minute there's a misalignment, I'm all of a sudden like on guard, maybe a little defensive, right? Where I'm just like, is this an authentic person? Is this somebody that's going to fuck me over in 6 months? Like, you know what I mean? There's that like a little bit of a PTSD that I'm processing through. And so the fact that you have compassion for me in this place and not being like, Diana, you're overreacting. It was 2 days. Like I was busy. I was doing other stuff. I don't need to like be texting you back constantly anyway. Like you didn't gaslight me.
The people that care about you, they care about your feelings too. And that's something that I'm really learning.
Say it again. Say it again.
The people that care about you, they also care about how you feel.
Fuck yeah.
Period.
Yes. 100%.
Period.
Yeah.
So, and also like, once again, like, that's why it's so important to have good people in your life, right? People that have good emotional intelligence, that they're able to see you when they're hurting, that they're not going to put you in a box, that they just be like, oh, honey, right now what you need is some love, and then we'll figure out the rest later. But they see you for who you are,
Yeah.
And also I feel like the older that we get, I feel like the expectations sometimes get greater, how we are supposed to respond, but we're humans, like sometimes you had a shitty day and you responded the wrong way, like, but if you have people that they know you and they love you and that they see your heart, they're not going to be like, oh, like, look at this bitch, what she sent me. They're going to be like, oh, like, she's having a bad day, I was like, hey, honey, how can I be there for you, right? Which is a very, very different, having emotional, intelligent friends,
It's maturity.
Yeah.
It's maturity. And I think that since I've grown so much, I've realized that, like, I'm elevating, like you said, like, the level of awareness and compassion and empathy that I can hold for others, because especially with the line of work I do, like I'm in my compassionate, empathetic heart, like literally all day. And so when I come into dynamic with people and I'm giving that out and I'm not receiving it in return, like it was really disheartening. It is really disheartening for me.
Right.
And again, like in dynamic with you, I don't feel that imbalance. Like, and for me, it has reshaped my expectation of people to understand that like it's not impossible, because I think like up until this point, and maybe I've been so emotionally deprived in a majority of my relationships up until this point where I'm like, oh, it must be so hard for people to do this for me.
Right.
And to see that like it wasn't, I was like, oh, so like actually like y'all just kind of suck at this. And like and I'm needing to also attract I wouldn't say better, but like more evolved, emotionally intelligent,
humans, yeah. People
consciously aware people that can meet me. I was actually just talking to one of my really, really good friends. I've known her for like 10 years and I hadn't seen her in a while, and we were catching up, and she's always been that friend for me that I've never, ever had to be like, hey, can you be more nice to me right now. I'm sad.
Right.
You know what I mean? She just always was just like always there, always had my backs, always been a good friend. And she said something similar, but she was describing to me how she was healing with her partner. Like they had broken up and they got back together. And so she was still kind of having like a little PTSD from like, is he going to break up with me again? And so she told me like when she would communicate with him, like, hey, I'm feeling insecure and I'm feeling anxious because I'm scared you're going to break up with me again like you did a couple years ago. And he would be like, oh, okay, like let's talk about that. Like, what are you feeling? Like, how's that coming up for you? Like he would meet her there. And I was listening to this, I'm like, that is amazing. Like that is great.
People that
like,
care about you,
Yeah.
they care about your feelings, they
Yeah.
care about your thoughts. And also like for her, like that takes a lot of vulnerability
Yeah.
to open up your heart and to be like that's just naked, at that point. And
Yeah.
you're like telling the other person truly
Right.
what's in your mind,
Right. And to have the other person meet you with that compassion, that love, that
No
empathy,
judgment, yeah.
no judgment, to make it a safe place. And I think that's, what I've been lacking in a lot of my relationships is emotional safety.
Right.
And now that I'm coming into developing that safety within myself, right? I'm not looking to mold myself to belong anywhere because I belong to myself, right? And I'm not seeking acceptance and validation from others because I accept and validate myself, where I'm actually seeing now the places that I was fitting myself into were actually not supportive and nurturing of me.
Right.
And now that I'm kind of coming into, like you guys are witnessing my healing process like in real time right now, right? And so as I've been coming into my strength, coming into my boundaries, what I'm worth, and not feeling the need to have to convince anybody of that, I'm actually seeing that the elevation of the people that are coming into my life and how they're meeting me, their ability to meet me, right? You and a few of other people that have really been present for me too, where I've been seeing, wow. And it's not that, again, it's no judgment because everybody's on their healing journey. Everybody's growing at their own pace, but it's like, I'm elevating, and where
You're
we
on a
used to
different
connect
level. Right.
with the people that maybe, we put a lot of value on longevity of relationships rather than quality of relationships, and it's just not connecting anymore. And I feel like maybe that's why I'm seeing such a major shedding
Right.
of the people in my life right now. And in the past, again, I could have perceived this as abandonment, but I'm seeing it more of a purge and an upgrade of
It's just opportunity for something
quality.
new, of quality.
Yeah.
No one, and I mean, it's hard to lose people because, like, especially you have such a loving heart and compassionate. Like, I have and we're very loyal humans,
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard sometimes to let go. But in my life, like, sometimes some people have like chosen to just walk away because they don't like that I post positive things. They don't like the person that I have become and that I'm, growing into. I continue to grow. So it's like a little sad, but at the same time, it's just more opportunity. You're opening space, right? Like clearing out your closet, for example.
Yeah.
You're just opening a space for new, beautiful things to come in. New, beautiful people, ideas, knowledge, more love. So it's great.
Yeah. It's definitely a transitionary place to be in. And I think that's what happens when you are surrounding yourself with people that aren't actually invested in growth or developing their own internal authentic happiness and joy. It's like people will actually prevent themselves from their own evolution in order to continue to stay in connection with maybe an old crowd or just family members, anything, because the desire, the fundamental human need to belong is so strong and wired into our humanity, into our programming. Like, we need a village, we need a tribe, right? And so people will do what they need to do to continue to belong someplace. And so I read Brene Brown's Braving the Wilderness, and in that book, I mean, so good, highly recommend. it was all about belonging to yourself, being brave enough, braving the wilderness. The wilderness is stepping away from your tribe, stepping away from maybe old thought patterns and old crowds, and braving the wilderness of standing alone in like your truth and your principles and who you authentically are, and feeling like safe in that, right? Developing that inner safety. It was so good. And I think that's really what has helped me in these past couple months of really losing a lot of what I felt gave me identity, a relationship, a community, like these people, right? Like gurus or other people that I had put on a pedestal. And now I'm like, oh, okay, this is the process that I'm actually being led through to develop deeper into like myself.
Well, and if you look at the life of, like, if you read the biographies of any of the most successful people that have worked the earth, you know, from like social movements to like Mother Teresa to like presidents, sometimes at first they have to be rejected from their own little circle, and then they have to be isolated by themselves, finding themselves until they find their community again, that community that is going to support their bigger dream, like the bigger thing that they're up to in life. So it's almost like a necessary step that needs to happen for you to fully grow in the person that you are meant to be.
Elevation requires separation.
Yeah.
And I feel like then you're not having the mirroring back to you your old self. Because I sometimes, you know, I get into situations with old friends or old family members, things like that, and they really are so, like you said, they're uncomfortable with my growth. They're uncomfortable with how much I've expanded and evolved, maybe past them. And so there's this underlying subconscious need to kind of almost pull you back into an older version and reflect back to you this older version of you, because that's the version of you that they're comfortable with.
And that they know also, because they don't know this new person. They don't know all of these new discoveries that you're attaining, like, and this new way of being.
And they have no interest in wanting to get to know this new version either, right?
Because it's a new person. They're not comfortable with that. Most people don't like change.
Right.
Yeah,
I know. It's so funny when I was first on my journey and I would go be around like my mom and my sister, and they would just start treating me like the stupid little sister again. Like I didn't know shit. Like I haven't spent years studying the things I'm doing. You know what I mean? And it's like even now, like I run like a very successful business, and my mom will be like, so do you still have clients? And I'll be like, yeah. She goes, how old are your clients? I'm like, well, my youngest client is like 22 and my oldest client is like 52. And she goes, wow. She goes, and they listen to you? Wow. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like they can't understand because they feel powerful in the place when I was small. Mm-hmm. Right. And so a lot of times people will want to keep you in that place because they're not looking to grow. And so if you're looking to grow, a lot of times you are going to lose people that you love deeply. And it doesn't mean that you need to love them less, but I think you just, again, like Gabriel said, regulate your time with them, but really seeking out. And I would say I started to expand at an exponential rate when I started to seek out coaches, mentors, people that were doing things I wanted to do, learning from, other psychologists and therapists, and like finding different circles of people that have achieved the things I wanted to achieve and getting into proximity with them, right? Like there's I follow like a multi-$50 million coach, and like I'm in her group programs, and like just being in her energy, like we've talked about calibration, like I feel more abundant. Like I'll listen to her on a 2-hour lecture and I'll want like another 2 hours because like her energy is just like, oh, and it's so good. And you plug in and you're like, give me that. And then I leave there and I'm like, all right, I can go conquer the world right now. I'm going to go launch programs. I'm going to go step out I'm going to go serve clients. I'm going to build a multi-million-dollar empire right now just because I tapped in with her.
She's fueling you, right? Yeah. Like she's totally fueling your hopes, your dreams, whatever that you want to go after.
And that's why she's so successful is because she does that for so many people. And people are like, I need more of that energy. Like, what is this? It's like crack. We love it.
Right,
give me more. Yeah, but it's her medicine to the world.
Right. That's her gift, and she's sharing it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like we have to find what what your medicine is. You have to find what your medicine is, right? And usually what your medicine would be is the medicine that healed yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of times people don't realize that they need healing. Like sometimes I even kind of see it in the meetings that we go to weekly where I'm like talking about stuff and I kind of feel energetically they're like, oh, this is for crazy people. And I'm like, no, it's for people just like you, boo.
Yeah. Literally. Yep.
But you know, there's that stigma that I still feel like we're still kind of working through. I feel like we have, you know, we've made leaps and bounds in the healing industry, in the self-development industry, right? Where it's more common now.
Like an awareness for mental health.
Yes,
the importance
absolutely.
of it. Yeah.
Right. But places like New York, places, you know, where there is survival is more the main goal rather than self-development. I feel like we're places where you can places that feel safe for your nervous system are easier places to work on yourself. Yeah, so maybe you guys need to move, just saying. I had to move. I had that for
Change
me.
your environment.
I had to move. So yeah, changing your environment. Yes, definitely.
Engineer your environment. Just make sure that you're like planting yourself in a place that it will allow you to grow the way that you want to grow.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, me and you are already seeking out events that we want to attend next year I mean, and it's not really like, I wouldn't even call them like networking. Like we're literally just like putting ourselves in proximity with people that have similar mindsets, that have similar values, that like the same things. Like, and that's where you're gonna find
that are in alignment.
Yes. And a lot of times, right, so because I don't drink or do drugs, like once I took myself out of bars and nightclubs, I started to expand my energy field to receive new people like that. And it's like I was at a charity event last week and I ran into this guy who was newly sober for a year, and he was like, how's dating been sober? And I'm like, for me, like it doesn't bother me. I can hang out with people that drink. I can't hang out with people that do drugs though, sorry. But I can hang out with people that drink, and it doesn't bother me unless you have a problem, then it becomes a problem, right? And he was telling me how he was still going to bars to just because he doesn't know where else to meet people. And I was like, well, do you have other hobbies? Do you have other things that you like to do? Do you have other things you enjoy? Like you gotta go do those things, because then you're gonna find the people that also like to do those things and not people that hang out at bars. And like it was like this, he was like, oh, you know, but I think it's like as a society we're so programmed to think like, oh, that you meet people at bars, you meet people at nightclubs, like that's where you meet people. And it's like, first of all, my future husband is not going to be hanging out at a bar.
Mine neither. No, thank you.
Yeah. So definitely try to put yourself in new environments. And I think a lot of times like new environments are scary, right? They're like intimidating. You're like,
and also like I feel like about new environments too, it's like not about going once, but about like consistently showing up there, right? So like if you want to meet somebody that's into self-development, start going to conferences about self-development, right? If you want to meet somebody that's into like hiking or yoga or all of those activities, start showing up to those meetup groups or those places where those people are actually going to be at, you know? Like even now that I changed my gyms and like the new one that I'm going to at 5 a.m. in the morning, like I'm starting to make friends there, and the difference is really, really big. Like the quality of, you know, that like they're a match for me, you know?
I was laughing because I was thinking about what you said when you were going to the gym at night, and like the difference of the people that go to the gym during the day. Gosh,
so I thought about it. I didn't kind of want to say it, but I will say like I don't know how this is gonna come across, but that is just my perception of reality.
It's your truth, babe.
So when I show up at the gym at 5 a.m. in the morning, right, the people that are there at 5 a.m. in the morning, their bodies are incredible. They're full of energy, vitality, and you can tell that they're very successful in life. Sometimes when I go at night or when I go like around 2 or at a different timing, people look very different. And also like how, like not only how they look, but like the kind of workouts that they do, right? So like the people that are like in the morning, they're freaking ninjas, you know, and I'm like learning and I'm like watching and I'm like, oh my gosh, let's do that movement. And I get inspired and it fuels me, right? And I also see people watching me, all the things that I'm doing. So it's an environment that is like, right, like the energy that is going and coming is very different. But then at night, like sometimes like I see people like literally just talking, like, or like you're on your phone and you're like on the treadmill or you're like leaning over, you're not like fully present. Of course, not everyone is like that, right? But I feel like there is a difference on the kind of people that show up, you know, at different times.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, 100%. I definitely want to get back on my 5 a.m. shit. When I was waking up at 5 a.m. for like 2 years straight, I was making the most money I'd ever made in my life. My business was thriving. My clients were happy. Everything was popping. Everything was popping. And so what's crazy is, I mean, not to blame the relationship, but the person I was with was
your environment was not engineered for
your
success.
The people I was with were just kind of like not into that, and that's the thing when as being a professional self-abandoner, no, I'm just kidding. As a person that used to self-abandon a lot, I would give up my habits and things that I were like non-negotiables for me. As soon as I would get into a relationship, I'm like, oh, do you not like waking up at 5 a.m.? Okay, what time do you wake up? You want to wake up at 8? Okay, let's do that instead, right? And so I'd lose myself
I've done that too.
in that, right? And so now that I want to re-engineer my life, I want to get back into my shit. But what I've been slowly doing, getting back into my routines, because again, like when you're grieving, and this is for people, obviously, if you're grieving, if you're going through stuff, and the best thing you can do is just wake up that day and eat something, do your best. And I think as recent, I was doing my best, but now that I'm feeling better, I'm going to do better. But I've gotten back in my Vipassana meditation, minimum an hour. I think what I was doing, I was trying to cut it down. I'm like, oh, I'll just do 30 minutes. I'll just do 45 minutes. No, an hour is my non-negotiable. I don't care what else is going on. The world could be like on fire. I'm going to sit in an hour of meditation. And just implementing that non-negotiable has been really, really, really great for me. And so I can feel the difference in my energy. I can feel the ability to be grounded with my thoughts for a full hour in the morning, to start to really cycle through things, to really sort things out, to get to that inner peace within myself, that ground within myself, and then go off into my day and carrying that with me and feeling so just unstoppable, really, you know, because well, I'm just saying, like, I'm excited to implement all the other aspects of it.
I was gonna share a story about like what happened when I started going to the gym at 5 a.m., but I think we'll save that for another episode.
Well, you met people that also like to be up early, and people
and that was like, fuck yes. I was like, you're up at 5 a.m. too, like working out, doing your thing, like working on your dreams. That's my kind of people.
Yes.
Like such a turn on.
Yes, 100%. And and that's the thing, right? Because if I'm waking up at 5 a.m., I have to be in bed by 9, which cuts me out of a lot of the people that were like trying to hang out after 9, or things that people are trying to do things, you know, like I'm like, I can't.
I gotta go to bed. Like I'm not available.
No,
sorry.
I can't do that. Yeah.
I highly recommend. I'm actually like, it has been so enjoyable, and the fruits are coming out from it are so beautiful. And I was talking to another friend. He actually wakes up at 4:30, and he was like enrolling me into that idea. And I'm like, so I've done like a couple of 4:45. And it's amazing. Like my day, it's way ahead of everybody else's day, you know? And like how I show up to other places, it's good.
Well, actually, here's a spiritual spin on it. The Ayurvedic time clock says the hours between 5 and 6 are the most creative hour of like the 24-hour cycle. I've got to pull up this graphic for you at one point and show it to you. But
the hours between what, I'm sorry?
5 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like where your brain is like, I don't know, you have access to like some creative channel in the universe or something.
I'll be up at 4 tomorrow, guys. Ready by 5.
Yeah, no, it's powerful. So I'm excited to get back into that as well. And you've been really inspiring me too. So that's why I like to keep you around, Boo, because you remind me that like it is really about the daily habits compounded over time, and part of getting yourself in whatever goal it is that you're looking to achieve, whether it's a personal goal, whether it's a relationship goal, a financial goal,
getting in shape,
yeah,
like
anything. It takes time, it takes consistency, it takes discipline. There's no magic pill for anything, and if it is, it's probably not sustainable.
Right. And it's all about creating an environment that is gonna like give you the best fruits, basically creating an environment that is going to be conducive to your success.
Yeah.
Period. You know?
Yeah.
Like I even have a habit tracker. Like that's how intense I'm about it. Like it's
You're
on
such
Excel.
a Virgo.
It's on Excel, and it's like a lot of stuff, you know, and everything is on that tracker. And I'm like, oh, I have to do this, do that, do that. But and I don't always do everything that's on my tracker, right? Because it's just sometimes you just don't do it. But it reminds me of the things that actually make me really happy. And once I do those things, like I show up in a way that it's the way that I want to be showing up in the world. So instead of being like, oh, like a task, it's like I'm looking forward to like checking all my little boxes on my tracker.
Yeah. I
want to post it online actually.
Yeah,
like I should share that with people. Yeah.
I was going to say, make sure you're not coming at it with like more of like a disciplinary kind of perspective too, because a lot of people that are like perfectionists or like overachievers, sometimes they'll kind of beat themselves up if they don't get everything done on their list. And so part of this is also having like compassion for yourself and having some flexibility within your stuff, right? Like let's say, you know, I have like a really early meeting or whatever. I have something where I can't do my 1 hour meditation. I don't like, oh, you fucking suck, bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't go in on myself. I'm like, you know what? We're going to try again tomorrow. Tomorrow's always another day, right? But try not to push it off too much, because then you start to get off track.
It compounds in a negative way.
Right.
Yeah.
And I always say this too, like the spiritual path or any path, right? The path is really when you fall off the path, the choice to get back on. Because I think a lot of times when people fall off, they're like, oh, well, I already fell off, so I might as well just quit the rest of this week, right? But the path is not actually the straight and narrow path. It's the falling off the path and the decision, the conscious decision, like, I'm going to get back on it.
That's where the victory is at.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, when you think about it, like, we are going to do things wrong. We are going to fail. We are going to mess up, right? But, like, how do you succeed? How many times do you try again? How many times do you go ahead and put yourself out there again? How many times do you say, okay, yesterday didn't work out. Let's try again today. Yeah. And I feel like that's why people don't, like, really get to see their dreams come true, because they quit. You know?
Yeah.
Well, too early, you know, instead of trying. Even like with like the whole like weight loss process, right? Mm-hmm. Like I completely changed my body really from like what I looked like 2 years ago. And I get so many messages and people call me like, how did you do it? Right. And they're like asking for this secret. And I was like, I just go to the gym, you know. And then there was a time in my life that if I went to the gym, I didn't really know what to do. So I joined a boot camp that when I showed up, somebody told me what to do, and I did my best that time, you know. Mm-hmm. And I really sucked a lot of the times, but I was like, I'm gonna go again, and I'm gonna go again, and I'm gonna go again. Yeah. And like it's the same thing with like your goals, with your mental health, with like whatever you want to overcome. It's all about like consistency and continue to try over and over again until like there's gonna be a point that you don't even have to think about it. That's just who you are. That's who you became.
And it also goes back to, what is your relationship with disappointment? Right. We've talked about this in the Quantum Wealth Masterclass. It's like a lot of times if you've had a very tough relationship with the actual emotion of disappointment, right? And this comes with people that have experienced, you know, intense trauma and have some level of PTSD with disappointment. And so their fear is, I never want to feel disappointed ever again because it was so painful and I just can't handle that again. And so to avoid disappointment, they will actually avoid trying to do things. They'll avoid trying to put themselves out there. They'll avoid failing. They'll avoid all the ways in which they need to grow, basically, because disappointment is just a form of friction that allows you to expand into a different route, a different method, a different pathway, right? But if your life is avoiding disappointment, you are going to be avoiding so much of your own greatness. And I actually really tapped in with this because, you know, I'm an entrepreneur and that shit is hard. I don't know an entrepreneur that doesn't go through like a mental breakdown every 6 months, because you're constantly having to work through levels of disappointment, of fear, of anxiety, of stress, of, you know, especially like a small business like mine, where it's like, I don't have a huge team, right? Like it's me. And so what I realized recently was I had such a painful, disappointing breakup with my ex-partner that I was actually tiptoeing around the emotion of disappointment in my business. I wasn't showing up to launch the way that I normally would. I wasn't putting out offers out there the way I normally would. I was not presenting my work, my magic, my medicine in the world like I normally would. I was showing up to sales calls feeling some level of anxiety because of this disappointment, not realizing that it was traced back to the disappointment of my relationship. And it wasn't until I really faced head on like the painful disappointment of that relationship did I really start to embrace the possibility of disappointment within my business, but also start to allow myself to feed into the possibility of joy and excitement and potentiality of that as well. And so sometimes we really need to look at what is our relationship with disappointment. Are we avoiding it, or can we embrace it, or can we start to heal whatever trauma it is that caused us to fear another disappointment, or whatever disappointment was back then that is still kind of lingering in our energetic field, right? And then come back into the present and work with the strong, empowered adult you that can handle disappointment, then can manage disappointment, knowing that this is a temporary sensation, this is a temporary feeling, and then process it, integrate it, and then move forward with new information. And so that's really been such a journey for me, because being an entrepreneur, being somebody that runs your own business, it's like there's always a possibility for that, but there's always a possibility for better too, you know,
100%.
Excitement and joy and just surprises, miracles, right? And if we can really start to refocus our energy there instead of, oh, what if it goes wrong? But what if it goes right?
And changing your relationship with like failure too. You know, like for me, that has been huge. The minute that I started
Is there ever really failure though? Or is it like opportunities for growth?
100%. But like usually we don't define it as that, right?
Yeah.
We define like, oh, I failed, I sucked, I did this wrong. But instead of like I learned this, you know, like this is what I took away from this experience.
Yeah.
And like now, like I am a 2.0 version because I have all of this extra knowledge that I didn't have before.
Yes.
But that is not like as common or as popular.
It is now that we're talking about it on our podcast. No, I really feel like if you got anything from this episode, please allow yourself to expand into areas that may feel uncomfortable or may feel, you know, unknown or just not familiar for you, because that's where your growth is. So many times I see people that are, you know, looking for growth, looking for change, looking for evolution. And then I'm like, all right, so I'm going to need you to do this, 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 and this. And they're like, oh, shit. Oh, I didn't know I had to do all that. And I'm like, you said you wanted what you wanted, right? And I'm like, okay, this is the pathway to get that. And it's like, there's no place to grow when you already know all the answers in that field. And I think a lot of times people are addicted to being right. They want to be right. And if they have to get into a room where they don't have all the answers, they will avoid that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've really noticed, and we've talked about this a little bit too, about like when you get into a room where you know everybody makes more money than you, do you shrink or do you expand? Right. And I mean, I notice it too, where like maybe I was at that charity event the other week and I was like, oh, all these people are fucking drunk and they're just all doing drugs. But it's like, was I really judging them, or I was judging them because they have a lot of money and I feel like, oh, people with a lot of money, all they do is drink and do drugs. And am I classifying them as that? And then I'm projecting that energy and then it's keeping me separate from them. Right. And so, knowing that like when you get into a room that you maybe don't feel like you belong there, understand that everybody at one point felt that, right?
Right.
And you have to really acclimate yourself into, if I want to grow, if I want to expand, I have to step into the version of myself that feels comfortable here. Right. I have to step into the version of myself that is embodied in this new version of who I'm aiming to be, right? And my old coach used to say this all the time. She said, don't fake it till you make it, embody it until you become it.
I love that.
Right? And so maybe we're not millionaires right now, but we're going to show up with our millionaire mindset every day. And we're going to show up with our millionaire habits every day until all of a sudden one day we're going to wake up and be like, oh shit, here we are.
There is the proof.
Well, I love you.
I love you.
And thanks for meeting me in the repair, because that's really what I feel marks a good, healthy relationship, is like, can you have rupture and can you have repair? And so far we've moved from level 1 of our friendship into another level of it now that we've had our first rupture and repair. And yeah.
Thank you for having me over here as usual. I love this time with you and I love sharing what we're learning with people, and the goal is like to share it with other people, right? Like what I say about all the time, like it's amazing to learn for yourself, but when you're able to give that to somebody else and change somebody else's life, like change the world, like literally one person at a time, like that's our mission. Like that's why we're here. So also on the same token, like please, if you found value today, like share it with the people in your life, share it with the people that you love, because like the more that as a community we learn and we grow, like we're all going to be better off. Each one teach one. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. And share your thoughts in the comments or in the reviews. Let us know what you thought about this episode. For me, I love coming on here and just giving you guys insight into my world and how I'm really doing the work. Like I teach the work, but I really do it as well. And I will never, ever tell you guys to do something I haven't done already and know that it works. So please know that like this really comes from like an authentic place of me just really living in what I teach and how it really gives me the access to my true authentic joy, my true authentic happiness, allows me to really embody my true authentic self. And that is what freedom is. And if anything, if I can give you, the keys or at least the breadcrumbs for you to walk your path of freedom, then like my life is complete, really. And that's really what we're here to do. And so I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Urban Indigo Podcast. And I'm so excited to see you guys on the next one. Thank you. Bye.